Hey you guys, how's it going? Hope your day is going well. I hope you can see my somewhat tan. This is me tanned, by the way. This is the color that I get. I wanted to share with you guys a testimony of something that God just did, and I'm so floored, like blown away, so excited to share this with you guys. And the scripture that I put up right in the beginning is 1 Corinthians 1:31. Therefore, as it is written, let the one who boasts boast in the Lord. Guys, I'm gonna boast on him right now. I gotta tell you what he just did. Sorry, guys, my phone. Okay, so let me start by saying this is a little bit of a long-winded story, but I'm going to do my best to keep it like straight to the point. So I move into this apartment that I'm living in presently, and I was coming from an apartment where there was a fire. So I shared this in previous videos, but there was like legit a fire that caused me to be evicted. That's the end. They found out my apartment was illegally created and I had to leave. And I was so bummed about it. And I find this place, the Lord's hand is all over it. I can tell it's him, super excited. And like me and the landlord, like super jive in the beginning, right? Like she just like likes me, like just favor, right? And I didn't do anything to earn it. So that's how I kind of was like, okay, there's God's hand is in there. There's grace, it's all over it. Now, as I'm, dealing with the day-to-day stuff with my landlord, it starts to become apparent to me that she gets agitated easily about specific things, and she would just start yelling at me for like really small things. So it wouldn't just be like, hey, could you like not park your car here for a moment, or like, please don't put flyers here. It wasn't like that. It was like she'd get upset and she'd start to yell at me. Now, the first few times it happened, I was pretty taken back because I knew I hadn't done anything that warranted yelling. But because of the nature of my field, I'm probably like more comfortable with someone yelling than the average person. So I would just listen to her yell, and I would want to say something, but I just felt like I wasn't sure exactly like how does one address somebody who just chronically yells, right? So I tried a couple of different approaches with her. I tried to, keep things kind of brief. I tried not to react to her. And after a while, it just became apparent that this form of communication was something she appeared to think was appropriate. And so during the beginning of 2021, this behavior was continuing. So this has been going on for approximately 5 to 6 months, and doesn't seem to be like something that, is provoked. It just seems to be kind of like her style of communication. And at the same time, she's like messaging me stuff sometimes in a very intrusive manner. And I'm like a little, again, like she'd send me messages just in the middle of the day, things that were like a little accusatory. And I would do my best to answer it. But one particular week, which was the week my uncle passed, I was not responsive to her messages. And that day, while I was in my house on my bereavement time, she actually came to my door, and I heard her kind of like stand by my door because I wasn't responding via text message. And then she put a notice in my mailbox and left. And I was very disturbed, I guess to say the best word. I was very disturbed by this, the fact that she was so forceful in her communication that because I wasn't answering like within a few hours, that she would come to my door. So after some time and thought process about like, okay, what am I going to do here? I sent her a text message and said to her essentially like, please do not communicate with me anymore via text message. I did tell your husband my uncle passed, and that is why like I'm not at work right now. And I just think moving forward, if there is any communication, you can send it to me via email and we can coordinate a time to speak. Now, at the same time, I also was changing my phone number for other reasons as well. So it likely looked to her like that was the sole reason why I did it. Wasn't. There were many reasons why I changed my phone number at that particular time. But in response to this, our communication became very contentious when she would see me, because now I wasn't really like playing into the behavior anymore. And I had kind of taken a stand, like, I don't like the yelling. I don't like the text messaging, that the way you're kind of sending me very intrusive messages throughout the day. And so this created a very fractured relationship between the two of us, right? And it got to the point even where it had to kind of escalate to the person who was managing her property, because some of the ways that she would try to communicate with me, even though I'd asked her to email me to coordinate time, she would kind of ambush me when it was like check time, and she knew I'd be bringing the check to the apartment. So that being said, you know, things got a little bit more difficult likely than they needed to at the time. And I was really like, listen, I don't know what to do. I really tried my best to communicate with her at this time what I needed. Maybe I could have communicated it sooner, but I was really uncertain the best way to approach her because it was happening so frequently. And after I had this time where I prayed to the Lord and I was like, listen, like, I'm having really like a hard time. I can't, you know, there were a lot of issues around the fact that I couldn't communicate with her about anything because she was so agitated from this message I had sent her. I think it just like aggravated the situation. And I was like, personally, like, I'm like, you know, when we would try to talk, I found myself just very like avoidant. Like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to deal with you. And I probably could have, you know, tried to take a more like humble route in just kind of like, you know, being the first one to apologize or to kind of like acknowledge the communication wasn't working. But after having dealt with this for X amount of time, I feel like I was kind of in a place where I was feeling a little pride around it. Like, I was like, no, like, she's in the wrong here. And I was kind of like standing on that. So I pray, Lord, please, like, I really just would like to reestablish this relationship with her. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, like, in order to do this. So, guys, this is so crazy to me. So one particular day, I'm out taking my recycling just outside, and I see her and her husband. Now, because I've learned my best strategy with her is to kind of, you know, take the slightly avoidant route. I was going to walk around to the other door to kind of avoid that potentially explosive interaction. And as I was walking to the front door of the building, like around the outside of the building, she's exiting to take some garbage out, and she actually passes out. Yeah. So I'm a first responder. So I go running to, you know, to assist, and with some time, like, her and another neighbor, we get her on her feet and we get her back to her unit, right? She's very disoriented. She's saying, you know, I have health issues, etc. And so I'm like, whoa, like, you know, I had no idea she was struggling with these types of health issues, right? Which obviously, like, you know, made me feel more empathetic. Like, maybe part of the reason she's being very explosive sometimes is because of her pain or her health issues. So I don't see her for a period of time. And then I am presently at this time just like coming back to my unit just like 10-15 minutes ago. And do I not see her? And she approaches me and asks to speak to me. And I was like, sure. And she's like, you know, I didn't get a chance to thank you, and I bought you a gift. And if you ever, I order a lot from Amazon. She's like, if you ever need help with your deliveries, they can use my unit. And she's like, and if you want to give me your new phone number, you know, like, and I was like, whoa. And so then I like said to her as well, like, you know, are you feeling better? Like, have you seen a physician, etc. And long story short, she's, you know, she's still obviously dealing with some stuff that are chronic. And I told her, you know, like, I am as a professional trained to do these things. So I would say, I told her, I said, you know, you're welcome to ask me for assistance if you're ever in an emergency situation and you just need someone to come down. I will come if I'm home. And I I could not believe it. Like I just, you guys, like I felt like that was a situation that was like burnt to the ground, like tarnished, like was never going to be have any element of restoration, you know? And I just watched God do something so miraculous. I literally cannot believe what he has done in this. Like I'm just like floored. I am so excited. I am so grateful. And I presently have someone at my door, so I'm just gonna be right back with you. You guys, like she got me. She just came and brought me a card. Like, what? Guys, can I just say how good God is for a minute? Like, I'm literally like, I'm tearing up because you guys, he's so good. Like, do you understand why I just like I'm sitting here and I'm always just like just have to share with you these experiences because it's just like I could not do this. I could not restore this relationship. I couldn't have fixed it. I couldn't, there was nothing in my own power or ability that would have been able to do anything to restore it in the way that he just unfolded an opportunity for me to see the humanity in her and for her to see the humanity in me, right? Like I got to see the person that in her that was like struggling and was going through difficulty and perhaps was maybe sometimes expressing that in her interactions with me, right? And she also gets to see that I'm not like this, you know, like difficult person to live in this apartment and like I legitimately care about her well-being. I'm like, you guys. So I'm going to repeat the scripture. Let the one who boasts boast in the Lord, cuz he will he will remedy and just restore relationships like in a way where you're like, yeah, like this is like legit. Like I'm actually in shock. Like I'm like I cannot believe how good he is. I cannot believe how gracious, how merciful, how kind. And like guys, it's okay for us to acknowledge our humanity. Can I just say that? Like I think sometimes we think that being a Christian or being a believer means that like we're always going to have the answers or we're always going to know what to do or we're always going to be mature in every situation. And I for one would love to say that I could be all the time, and I'm not. In all honesty, I'm not the mature one sometimes. And in all honesty, there are times where like I desperately need him too. And I think we need to be kind of like okay with that. Like that the beauty of like my flaws, my weaknesses, my lack of maturity, my lack of strength, my lack of, you know, intelligence, my lack of ability is it creates space for him, right? And that's what is just so beautiful about when you get to see these types of testimonies with him because it's like he really just works these things out. And this reminds me of 2 Corinthians 11 and 30 and when Paul is talking about his suffering and he said, if I must boast, I will boast of the things that show my weakness. Guys, I am so weak. I am so like I'm so limited by the person that I am some days, right? And it's just like, but this is where his grace and his glory can like rest upon me. And you get to see him. Because like what did I do in this, right? Like he gave me opportunities to respond to things, but I was still not able to always be mature in this relationship with her and nurture a relationship perhaps differently. And he gave me a way to do that, which honored both of us, you know, and like to see this woman standing there like with tears in her eyes, like I felt like just so grieved in my heart that I was like, why did I miss this? Like why did I, as a professional, as a someone who is a Christian, how could I miss this person suffering? Like and at the end of the day it got to glorify God. And I'm here to glorify him. I'm here to share with you this testimony. And in all honesty, I was really struggling too, like what am I going to share this week? I didn't know what I was going to talk about. And he just gave me the most beautiful, perfect story. So I love you guys. I hope you have an amazing weekend. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.